You're living in a timeline that you don't want to be in. You no longer want to be broke. You no longer want to be just getting by. You no longer want to be feeling not well. You want to feel energized. You want to feel abundant. You want to have lots of money. The timeline you're in is the one that's been selected by society for you. It's been handed over by your childhood, the people around, teachers, whatnot. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you got to the timeline you're in right now, because you can change it. There are infinite timelines existing in this now. There's a timeline where you have what you want. There's a timeline where you have lots of money. There's a timeline where you're a millionaire. There's a timeline where you feel good. There's a timeline where you're happy all the time, where everything is wonderful in your life. And every day and every now, you're choosing a timeline. So how do you change a timeline? It's very interesting, because to change a timeline, you have to begin to live in that timeline internally. What does that mean? The way you think and the way you visualize has to match the timeline you're going to next. So you're not really even manifesting anymore. You're just choosing a timeline where your desire exists. It's so easy, because you're already choosing a timeline all the time. You're choosing it with your mind, with what you're thinking and what you're visualizing. How you feel is just a GPS telling you how you're thinking. Your thoughts are selecting the timeline. Your thoughts are selecting the reality. That's all that's happening. You're living in a reality that you've been selecting with your mind. Nobody else can select it for you. Now, we can select realities for our loved ones and the people in our lives the way they show up. This is for sure, because we already are choosing that reality. We choose how others show up in our lives. We choose how much money we have. Now, I would like to talk about timelines in terms of money for now. So you're in a timeline, let's just say, where you're just getting by, but you want to be in a timeline where you're super wealthy. You've always been wealthy. What do? Internally, you start to revise the story of your money. So revision is just a process that you do internally, where you think, no, that never happened. I've always been rich. I've always had this much money. I've always been a millionaire. I've always had a luxurious life, right? Revision stops all creation of timelines that exist in this now, where you are now. So to stop living in the timeline that you are now, begin by revising that story. And that's just an easy way to start selecting a new reality, a new timeline where you are rich, you have a lot of money, you're abundant. It seems that we're taking this timeline where we're at, then we're going to figure out a way to make money, and then the money will take us to the next timeline. See how this is faulty? Because that doesn't really make sense. Money does not have the power to take us to the next timeline, but that's what everybody has been selling to us. You need to start where you are, start making money, and then your reality will shift. No, you're selecting your reality internally. So you begin by visualizing, daydreaming, living in the timeline where you already are super rich, super healthy, super happy, super loved. It doesn't matter what's the subject. You need to begin to think the thoughts that match the timeline. Like, I'm so rich, I have so much money, I've always had lots of money. So what we're doing is we're going to the timeline internally first. Then the money will begin to show up in that timeline. You're switching timeline from being broke to being rich. You don't have to pass stages where you're like broke, then you have a little money, then a bit more, then a bit more, then the ultimate timeline. It doesn't really work that way because you're already choosing timelines in your mind. But what's happening is you're choosing the timeline where it's the same reality over and over again. You are describing the timeline you're in over and over again. So infinite realities exist in this now for you. They exist for you in this now, and you can choose realities where you are wealthy, where you're abundant, where you're healthy, where other people are healthy, where other people are abundant. There's multiple realities that exist at the same time. It only matters what we focus on. Just like this camera is focused at me, the same way our mind gets focused into something and creates that reality. So this camera is pointing at my cat. That would be a different show, a different reality, a different video, right? Same thing. You have your mind like a lens. You're choosing which reality you want to live in, and you have to reject the reality you don't want. Other people will tell you, no, this is the reality we're in. This is what's happening with you. This is what's happening with them. There's no way. They've always not had enough money. They're always sick. No, you choose the timeline where you're always healthy. No, I'm healthy. They give you a diagnosis in this timeline. But there is infinite other timelines where you are supremely healthy. So you need to select that reality with your thoughts, with your imagination. Begin to envision exactly what you want. Live there as you go about your reality in this now. That's fine. But internally, you reject that reality. No, I have always been very healthy. No, I've always had a lot of money. No, I've always been a multimillionaire. No, I've always been very successful. And there's timelines where you're supremely wealthy, let's say, without doing anything. So there's so many realities. There's realities where you passed away. There's realities where you're still alive. There's realities where you can be with one person. There's realities where you can be with another person. So it only matters what your focus is on right now. What are you choosing? You are the creator of your reality, so you have to begin to choose what you want to live and say it as if that is true. Nobody can stop you. You have to think those thoughts over and over again. So you're choosing the film you're playing inside, and the reality will begin to match it. And this process is very fast. It takes 3 days to choose a different reality. It sometimes can be instant. So it depends what level of creation you are at. If you're seeing this video, you are very well aware of how reality exists, how things are coming about, and you know a lot of information. You studied so many teachers. You know exactly what to do mentally. You know the information. But now is the time to put that information to action. You start living in that timeline. You start first by thinking. Think a thought over and over. I make this much money. In this timeline, I'm wealthy. In this timeline, they are healthy. In this timeline, my partner is wealthy. In this timeline, I feel supremely well. In this timeline, I get things done. In this timeline, I'm happy to wake up. In this timeline, pick one thing that you want to improve to begin this process. Have a short thought that says, I'm living in that timeline. And then think that thought over and over and over and over all day. Never stop. You can do focused thinking for 10 to 15 minutes, 2 to 3 times a day. That speeds up the process where you sit, you put a timer, you close your eyes, and you think the thought like a meditation, but this is just about thinking the thought, selecting reality meditation, but you're selecting it with your mind. Nobody else is doing it. Listening to videos doesn't do it. Yes, information is very helpful. It gets your mind to think different things, but you need to think because a song cannot pick a reality for you. A video cannot pick a reality for you. You wanted it to be this way because you want to be the chooser of realities. So practically all you are is just a chooser of timelines. So what timeline are you going to choose? So leave a comment below and tell me what timeline are you going to choose from now on, and nobody can stop it. People will say, no, you're not wealthy. Internally you say, I'm very wealthy. I've always been wealthy. I've always had lots of money. In this timeline, I'm me with lots of money. I'm me with beautiful health. They're in this timeline, they're walking, they're talking, they're happy. In this timeline, they're madly in love with me. In this timeline, everybody is thriving. In this timeline, everybody's wealthy, everybody's healthy. It doesn't matter. You will know, your mind will know what timeline you want to live in. Been gathering information for so long. You definitely know what type of house you want to live in. Begin living in there. See all the details. Imagine how the walls are, what the floors are like, what kind of car you have in the driveway, where do you leave the key, where do you leave the phone, where's your office, where's your home, where's your couch, where's everything. Put everything in that timeline that exists in the timeline and start living there. It's so powerful. It works so fast. If you are committed to persist into living in that reality only. So nobody can stop you. Whatever people are saying, whatever the doctors are saying, whatever the bank is saying, those are all irrelevant because those are realities you have already selected by focusing on them, by thinking on them, by visualizing the outcomes, by seeing people being upset, by seeing not enough money. You are selecting the timeline. What are you going to choose? The timeline that you're broken or the timeline that you have so much money? That's all it really takes, because if you think about it, you're not really manifesting. You don't need to know that you're even source. You don't need to know how things work. You just need to know, I'm in this timeline. I don't want to be here. I want to be in this timeline. And I'm going to think that way. I'm going to feel that way. I'm going to act that way. Slowly, action will match that thinking. And nothing can stop you, because once you choose the timeline, reality has to shift. You have to exist in that timeline. So it's very interesting. It's very wonderful. Give it a try and let me know what happens for you. Thanks for being here. And if you're new here, my name is Chloe, and I'm really passionate about talking about how to choose new timelines from where we are and making it simple enough without all the information that's been added to it. You're a being. You select timelines. You have selected the timeline you're in, and then you can select any other timeline. Which one are you going to choose? It's like a library. It's infinite. You exist in all kinds of ways, and you can choose exactly what you want to experience. So if you like this kind of stuff, subscribe. And I also have like a membership where we do focused thinking into timelines that we want to exist in only. And this is powerful because most people in timelines that you exist in, they don't think beyond that timeline. They just describe what's happening in this timeline, and they think that's real, that's reality. No, that's the chosen reality. So definitely join the membership, because it's so good to really stay focused in the new reality you want to choose, if you like, of course. Anyway, have fun jumping timelines together.